Hey, today's lesson is on ratios. Our vocabulary word is ratio. This is something I would put in my ISN. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities. A ratio is written in two different ways. You can write a ratio as A to B, with A and B being number quantities, or you can write it as A to B with a colon in the middle. Either way, they are read the same, A to B, A to B. So for example, we might have 1 to 2 or 1 to 2. This is a ratio. In your ISNs, put your own definition of a ratio. My definition is it's a comparison of two quantities. And then maybe give an example, A to B or A to B, so that you remember how you can write those. Okay, let's start with an example. For the first example, the co-ed soccer team has 4 times as many boys on it as it has girls. We say the ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls on the team is 4 to 1. There's our ratio, 4 to 1, and we read this as 4 to 1. Same thing. Okay, let's make a table to show the ratio. All right, so we're going to need the number of boys, and this is what I would like for you to write in your ISN. Just kind of make a little table as I'm making it here so that you have an example to kind of look back on. Okay, the next column, let's do number of girls because we're comparing the number of boys to the number of girls. And then let's have a number, the total number of players. Total number of players on the soccer team. All right, and that'll be our title. Okay, so we know that the ratio is 4 to 1. And the first sentence tells us how the ratio goes. It's very important to have the right order. The co-ed soccer team has 4 times as many boys as it has girls. Okay, boys to girls, boys to girls. So there are 4 boys and there is 1 girl. If we have 4 boys on our team and 1 girl, we have a total of 5 players. And I got that by adding 4 plus 1 equals 5. A simple addition problem there. Now, are there enough players for a soccer team? I don't believe that 5 is a large enough number for a team of players. So let's continue our table until we have enough players. I believe that a normal soccer team has 11 players. So we're looking for when our total number of players is at least 11. To continue our table, remember we have to have 4 boys for every 1 girl that we have. So if we add another girl to our team, we're going to need to add 4 more boys. So 4 more boys would be 8 boys. If I add 4 more boys, I can add 1 more girl. Now, 8 boys and 2 girls on the team makes 10 total players on the team. Still, we don't have enough for a full team, so let's keep going. And the ratio is still 4 to 1, so we have to add 4 boys and 1 girl. We cannot just go up 1 player because our ratio would not be the same. So continuing our table, we need to add 4 more boys, which would make 12, and 1 more girl, which would make 3. 12 plus 3, we have 15 players. Now I can say, using my table of ratios, that there are 3 times, I'm going to put it down here, 3 times as many boys as girls. This is kind of how we verbalize that ratio. 3 times as many boys as girls. Now I can say that because if I take 3 times as many, what am I thinking here? Okay, sorry. 4 times as many, sorry about that. There are 4 times as many boys as girls. If I take this number of girls and I multiply it times 4, I'm going to get the number of boys. If I take this times 4, I'm going to get the number of boys. Take 3 times 4, and I'm going to get the number of boys. Let's think about this one. This is a little bit of a step above here where we're going. If there were, let's say, 6 girls on the team. I'm going to add one here just as a little mind thinker here. If there were 6 girls, how many boys would there be? If I know that there are 4 times as many boys as girls, all I have to do is multiply times 4, and there would be 24 boys on the team. Now that's a large team, but that's a good example for practice. There are 4 times as many boys as girls on the team. Make sure you have 4, not 3 in your ISN. Mistake there. Okay, let's take another look at a different example. Suppose the ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls on the team is 3 to 2. Now let's look real quick back at our example from the beginning. Our ratio is A to B. So in our last example, we had boys to girls. So boys was our A value, and it has to be first because boys comes first in our example. So this is boys to girls. Let's take a look at our second one. Let's see, is it the same? Suppose the ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls, so we have boys to girls, is 3 to 2. All right, let's make a table for this one. 3 to 2. All right, we'll start the table the same way with number of boys and number of girls because that's what we're creating. So make a different table in your ISN. I wouldn't use the same table because we have a different ratio that we're working with. Okay, number of boys, number of girls, and again we're working with the same soccer team, but we're pretending that maybe it's a different ratio. Total number of players. Okay, there's a different ratio here. And I might make note over on the side my ratio. That's a good idea. Maybe we should go back and do that on our last example. So I kind of have that old example. Maybe over in the margin you could do that. I don't have a margin. I might note that on here. This one was 4 to 1. So I can see that ratio. Okay. We have a ratio of 3 to 2. That means for every 3 boys that there are on the team, there are 2 girls. Okay, so if we have 3 boys, we'll start with that ratio that they give us. That means we have 2 girls, boys to girls, and 3 plus 2 is 5. Again, we know that you can't have 5 players on a team, so we will continue our pattern. Now remember, we have to add the same number of boys each time. So we have 3 boys. Let's do 3 more boys. So we're going in multiples of 3. If we have 3 more boys, we have to have 2 more girls, which would make 4 girls. 6 plus 4 is 10. Still not the right number that we're looking for. All right. 3 more boys makes 9. I think you're getting the patterns here. 2 more girls, because there are 2 girls each time, would make 6. 9 plus 6 is 15 total players. And again, if we need 11, we now have enough. Now, on our last example, we could say that we have 4 times as many boys as girls. Let's see if we can do that here. How do we get from 2 to 3? I could add 1. 4 plus 1. Nope, that doesn't work. This one is different. I can say I'm going to leave a blank until I figure this out. There are blank as many there are more, so more boys. There's blank as many boys as girls. Now, I'm going to say that there are 3 to 2, or 3 halves as many boys as girls. That is a little bit tricky. I can do the same thing with the first example. Let's take a look back there to see how that does work. If I put the 3 over 2 to make 3 halves, I should be able to do the same thing here, 4 over 1. So if I put 4 over 1, it means 4 divided by 1, which is 4. So 4 times as many boys as girls. It still works. Okay, so that's why it works here. There are 3 halves as many boys as girls. Now, can you visualize 3 halves as many boys as girls? That's a little bit tricky to visualize. Let's take a look at a different way to visualize that. To do that, we are going to use a tape diagram. This is the second vocabulary word here. Let me move my example out of the way. A tape diagram. Now, a tape diagram is a visual example of ratios. So in your ISN, make sure you have tape diagram as one of your vocabulary words. Make it stand out so you notice it. And it's a visual example of a ratio. Okay, let's give ourselves an example. Maybe we can draw a little picture over there like we did with our A's and B's for ratio. Okay, for this we have 3 to 2. So for every 3 boys, there is 1 girl, or 2 girls, I'm sorry. So let's make a tape diagram, and I'm going to label it so I can remember what it is. This is a tape diagram. Okay, we have boys. And how many boys are there? Well, our ratio says 3 to 2. So we have 3 boys. So I'm just going to make, looks like a tape, kind of a rectangle. It's a tape, kind of like measuring tape. And there are 3 pieces there. So I'm going to split it into thirds, making it look fairly equal in the 3 pieces. We don't want a skinny one and then a fat one. And girls, we're going to put right underneath and line up that first mark there so that it starts in the same place. And we know that there are 2 girls for each of those 3 boys. So we're going to kind of make it line up so it looks like there's 2 of the same thing there. Mine are kind of fatter, but that's okay. 3 boys for every 2 girls. Okay, which is easier for you to think of? I'm just going to write this example here so you can see what I'm asking. Is it easier to think of there are 3 halves as many boys as girls like we have here? Or there's a ratio of 3 to 2 boys to girls, or the ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 2. Which is easier? That decision is up to you, and either one of them is the correct answer, whichever one is the easiest for you to comprehend and to understand when you say it. For me, the easiest one is this one. This one confuses me. I don't know how you can have a half as many or 3 halves as many. I'm kind of confused with that. All right, make sure that if you have any questions about any of the lesson today that you put them in your ISN and that you bring them to class tomorrow to share so that we can clarify anything that's confusing for you. We'll have some more examples in class so that we can make sure that we master what we're learning today. Remember, your important concepts are ratios, and ratios are comparisons of 2 quantities. And it's very important that you put them in the order that they're given to you. So there is a specific order that you need to do.